Have you ever tried using your stamps in a whole new way to create a totally different look? That's what we're going to do today. Welcome back. It's time for another take two with Therese at Altenew, and I've got two beautiful cards to share with you using this Build-A-Flower set, which is called Giant Bellflower. Now, one of the most wonderful things about these sets is that they are layering sets, and today I'm going to share with you two different ways to create a silhouette and get a totally different look on each of your card designs. And this is what they're going to look like. Now I'm going to walk you through both of these options, starting with the easiest one first, which is the plain black silhouette image. I'm creating my own ombre style background using the Sweet Dreams ink sets. I've got the large ink blending tool from Altenew, and I do like to come back and forth with my colors to make sure that they blend well. But another thing to note is that as the colors dry, they will also sort of even out within the cardstock itself. I'm using some Nina 80-pound cardstock here, and if you're not particularly happy with your blending, don't stress too much because we are going to be stamping over this, and at the end you can always do a bit of a splatter with some black ink if you want, or if there's a specific area that you're not happy with, that's a good sentiment placement. So I'm just going to pop this cardstock into my Misty now, and this is what the final bouquet is going to be looking like, and it is in pieces. So what I'm doing here is just sort of hovering it over my cardstock panel to see exactly where I want the silhouette to be. And once I'm kind of happy with that, normally I would just sit my stamp image over top, but I couldn't close my Misty, so what I've done here is just done a little cheat, and I've layered the actual stamp on top of the die, and that way I know once I stamp out my floral sections of this image, they are definitely going to fit on this panel. I'm not using the outline image here. We're creating a silhouette with the layered portions of from the set of stamps. So this is the solid background portion that I'm stamping out first. And I'm using some pigment ink here, and the Obsidian is the perfect ink for this. It is a little bit slower drying, so just be aware of that. And one of the good things about stamping with black ink is it just looks so dramatic on the bright background. So for my florals, like for the flowers themselves, I didn't want them to be too dark, so I'm not actually going to use the base image. I'm going to use the second layer for each, and they are actually numbered, so it's the number 2 layer for each of the floral, I keep saying floral, for each of the flowers. So you can do this as dramatic as you want. If you'd prefer to have that solid flower, then go for it. But I thought it would be nice to have that little bit of the background showing through my flowers. I worked it out. And I am using the Obsidian again here, and I did need to stamp this a couple of times, and that's the brilliance of the Misty. One other great thing about stamping with black ink is that it is very forgiving in the fact that we all have a black marker or a pen, so if it doesn't stamp out perfectly, what I just do is come in with my marker and fill in any gaps that I'm sort of not happy with, or if I've haven't lined up my stamps perfectly. And I've got a really beautiful sentiment here from the Fragile Foliage set, and it's the With Sympathy, and there's some really nice, it's a really pretty font, and all the fonts are the same in this set, and all the sentiments are lovely, so I thought it'd make a great sympathy card. I've die cut a rounded rectangles die, it's the largest one, popped it up with some fun foam onto the front of a top fold card, and that is it. This card is finished. It's a really simple card, and I think it would look brilliant in any combination of colours or even a rainbow of colours would be lovely. So next we're going to start working on the second design. Is a little bit more time consuming because we're going to be doing some colouring with the Woodless colouring pencils here. I'm just choosing my pencils according to the colour that I've stamped out my silhouette. So I did exactly the same stamping with this particular image, but this time I stamped it with the Dewdrops ink. So I chose a nice light colour because that's going to give me a lot of area to move with my colours and add depth. I made sure to choose a colour that was going to blend well with the pencils, or I made sure to choose pencils that would blend well with my image itself as well. I'm going to keep the packaging of the die off to the side because that's just going to give me a little bit of an idea where my shadows are going to be. Now I do enjoy colouring with pencils. Some people find it a bit tedious. It is a slow progress, but I find it very relaxing. I like to colour for fun, so you could actually do less colouring here or more colouring. It's up to you. Just even adding some shading to this would be lovely. So you could do that by just using the tealy colour pencils, not changing it up like I am here, because what I'm doing is actually adding a green, so I'm changing the whole base colour and layering up my pencils and getting some easy sort of shadows and highlights with these three colours of greens. So I just work over all the leaf images there, but if you weren't keen to sort of spend this much time colouring, it would look just as fabulous if you just used the teal colours and added some simple shading throughout the image, and that's going to give it a real dramatic effect as well. So these are a wax-based pencil and they do blend within themselves. I'm not using any sort of Gamsol or anything here to blend it out with. I am simply just using the pencils themselves. I like to keep coming back in with my pencils to keep adding the depth and shadows. So to allow me to do that, what I do is not press too hard as I'm colouring. These are quite a hard pencil, so I'm pressing very softly, and that just allows me to keep adding layers. If I fill the tooth of the paper up too quickly with the wax of the pencil, I'm not going to be able to allow myself to add any more layers and depth. So this, I've gone back to real time here for a moment just to show you how long it actually, and I should have had a look exactly how long it took. It wasn't ridiculous. I haven't gone overboard. This is still a card. I just wanted it to have those two different sets of colours and some nice shading in there as well. But these colours in the pencil set, I have them all listed at the blog, which will be linked in the description below, so you can see exactly what colours I was using. And one of my best tips that I can ever give you with the pencils is there always is going to be a point where you look at it and think, I don't like this. It's like watercolouring. You think it just doesn't look right, but that's because you haven't added enough layers yet. So keep colouring. You'll be surprised where your image can end up, because there's always that point I find in when I'm colouring with either pencils or watercolours in particular. I kind of look at it and think, I'm just not happy with how it's looking. I just step back for a minute and look at where the shadows of the images would be, and I think, well, there's just not enough shadow. And I'm using jet black. This is actually the jet black pencil here, seriously. And this is the colour that just takes it to the next level because it allows me to add some depth. I'm not pressing very hard. It is pencil, so I could erase it if I did make any mistakes, just a little bit, but I find it's just easier just to keep colouring. So I did mostly focus on the one flower here today, just to show you how that one kind of grew throughout the colouring. I just thought that'd be easier than trying to share the whole image coloured with you. But just that going, I did initially try a darker blue to try and get the depth, and it just wasn't enough, and the jet black was perfect. Now I have cut that image down to sit on the front of my top fold card, popped it up with some foam as well, similar to the previous card, but this time I've done a die cut sentiment, which is from the Fancy Hello die set, and I've cut it out in some jet black cardstock and layered it up a few times, and then I decided I wanted to pop it up as well. So I used some foam tape to put that on the front of the card and added a little black heart from the Enamel Dots set. I just thought it needed something else as well. And these black hearts, I would love for Altenew just to make a whole set of enamel dots with all their colours, just in hearts. I love them. So I hope you've had fun today and are inspired to look at your Build-A-Flower sets just that little bit differently and maybe try a couple of silhouette ideas. I look forward to seeing you here again real soon. Till then, bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!